Howdy doody, my name is Susie, and today I thought I would share with you one of the fastest ways, if not the fastest ways, of infusing an herbal oil. And we're going to be infusing it with one of the more potent topical skin healing herbs, and that is the calendula flower. We're going to be making calendula infused oil. And calendula flowers have one of the most healing topical uses for skin, having to do with any sort of outbreaks, skin abrasions, cuts, sunburns, eczema. In some cases, some people have indicated that it's helped with scars. It really is an all-purpose herb for topical skin healing, and it's a must-have for your medicine cabinet. And this is the fastest method by far that I have found on infusing oils, and it is also the most shelf stable. So for this recipe, we're going to need 8 ounces of carrier oil, and I'm using sunflower oil. And you can use olive oil or any sort of light oil. Organic oil is better. And this is sunflower oil, and I chose sunflower oil because it's light, it doesn't impair any sort of flavor into my mixture, but it also naturally has occurring vitamin E. And vitamin E is not only good for healing your skin, but it also acts as a great preservative. Now, and of course, we're going to need 1 ounce of our calendula flowers. Calendula flowers have to be 100% dry. You don't want any moisture coming in contact with the oil because you would run the risk of it creating mold or becoming rancid faster. So 1 ounce of the calendula flowers, and then we're going to need ½ an ounce of vodka. And this method of using the vodka was one that was actually introduced by Michael Moore, who is a medicinal herbalist. And I came across this method by watching Maria Noel Groves. She was doing an infusion on Mountain Rose YouTube channel, and she did a fantastic job of explaining this method, and it works great. Now, this method only takes about 2 to 3 days, as opposed to the traditional method, which could take 3 to 6 weeks and longer. And that would just be infusing the herb in the oil left in the sunlight, or infusing the herb in the oil by leaving it in a dark space for a number of weeks and sometimes months. And I've used both those methods. They both work. They're great. But this is only going to take us 3 days. So I'm going to be ready with my oil in 3 days, and then I can use it however I like. The alcohol is going to be the intermediary. It is going to be the one thing that's going to really pull these properties that are naturally found in the calendula and open the plant up more receptive to the oil. So I've got 1 ounce in my bowl. But if you don't have a scale and you want a rough estimate, then you're looking at 1 3/4 cups of the dried flour, if it's just loosely tossed in the way that I did it. So what we need to do is we need to grind our 1 ounce of calendula flowers into a fine powder. And you can use a coffee grinder. I'm using my bullet, and Mary recommends that you pulsate this into a fine powder, but just split the batch. It just makes it easier to process. So we're going to need a jar to let our calendula powder sit with the vodka overnight. So this is the second half, the fine powder. So to our powder, we're going to add ½ an ounce of alcohol. And then you just want to make sure that your herb is fully saturated. So you're ending up with something that resembles a moist sand. and then we're going to let it sit for 24 hours. So I've got another batch that I've let sit for 24 hours, and all we're going to do is we're going to take the calendula powder and we're going to put it in a blender. We're going to add 8 ounces of oil to it. Our 8 ounces. If you find that there isn't enough oil, Maria says that you can add an extra ounce or 2 if you've got too much herb. So now we're going to blend this for 5 minutes, and our blender will be warm by the time that we finish the blending. Now, in order to save your blender from overheating, I just do it in 1 minute increments, stop and start again. Actually, my machine does that for me. It times it for 60 seconds, and I just do a quick interval just to make sure that my motor doesn't overheat. So 5 minutes, here we go. So 5 minutes, and definitely the blender is warm, but my motor is not. But that's exactly what you want. Now, Maria recommends that you use a heating method for an additional 4 hours, or to put it in a warm spot for a couple more days, just to further extract some of those benefits. So what I did is I put mine in a jar. You want to make sure you get all of that herb content and oil. I put it in a jar, I sealed it up, and I put it on my heat register for 2 more days. The way to clean up your blender is by dropping a dab of dish soap with water and cleaning it that way. So it's been 2 days, and my oil is not only darkened and infused, but my herb is all sitting at the bottom, which is great. And you could let it go longer. The longer you let it go, obviously the more infused it is, but she recommends 2-3 days, and that's what I did, using a coffee filter in a strainer, but it's very, very slow. You'd probably have to leave it for 24 hours, or you can strain it through a cheesecloth, which you'll have to throw out afterwards because you're never going to be able to get the oil out of the cheesecloth. So I'm just going to use some gloves to keep things clean, and I'm going to gently strain it. I can strain it directly through that top oil, and then you just want to squeeze it through the strainer. And that is super rich infused oil. And now you want to dispense it into preferably a dark bottle, and you want to keep it in the dark. Light will actually start to degrade all those benefits. But I wanted to show you the difference between the sunflower oil when we started and what it looks like now that we've infused it. Undeniable. This is obviously our infused. That is the sunflower oil we started off with. Isn't that amazing? This infused oil will keep for a year or longer, and with it you can make all kinds of other things. You can apply it directly to any rashes, small cuts, little infections, scrapes, scratches. My niece actually used it on her infected nail beds, on pets as well, because it's non-toxic. If they do lick their wound or their rash or whatever it is that you've applied it on, it is safe for them. The other thing I didn't tell you where to actually get the calendula flowers from. You can buy dry calendula flowers online, or if you choose to grow the calendula, it grows as an annual in most zones, with the exception of zones that are zone 9 and higher, will grow as a perennial. But for us, the annuals are fantastic. They grow from spring until fall. They do need a hot, sunny spot. And if you are going to pick the calendulas directly from your garden, it's recommended that you pick the flowers when they are fully open, and you pick them first thing in the morning after the first dew has dried off. Pick all the flower heads, pop them in a bag, and let them dry for 3 to 4 weeks or until they feel bone dry. You want them really, really dry. When you try it and you like it, and I know you will, it's very useful. I hope that you share it, and if you want to see more content, I hope you subscribe. Enjoy!